It's been more than a decade since Valve Software released the last installment in the Half-Life series. Though fans of the franchise have long clamored for a follow-up, Valve has offered little hope over the years. That changed in November 2019, however, when Valve gave the world its first look at Half-Life Alyx, its flagship VR game. The reveal, while momentous, spawned more questions than answers. When will Half-Life Alyx release? Is it really a VR exclusive? Where does the game fall in the Half-Life timeline? What happened to former protagonist Gordon Freeman? We've got the answers to those questions and a few more to boot. The short teaser trailer for the game shows Alyx, who you may remember as a key supporting character from Half-Life 2, hacking, showing off her gun skills, and generally establishing herself as a large and in-charge protagonist. You also get a taste of the stellar voice acting, tense and gritty environments, and array of mechanics the game has to offer. The trailer offers a decent impression of the types of enemies and situations you'll face, including the mix of dark and humorous elements the series has earned a reputation for.
You're gonna need a gun! Don't worry, it's unloaded. It's unloaded now!
The gameplay is 100% in VR, and it looks rather stunning. You have to search around to find batteries and bullets, unlike most traditional action games where supplies are more conveniently placed. Half-Life Alyx takes place between the first and second games, as Alyx and her father put together a resistance against the multi-dimensional empire known as the Combine. It's not a brief glimpse of this time period either. It's a fully fledged game with a campaign that rivals that of Half-Life 2 at approximately 13 to 15 hours. According to an IGN interview with Valve programmer Robin Walker, the company originally set out to make a short 15-minute experience, but was impressed with how playtesters didn't want to leave the world. Their eagerness to keep exploring is why it's so much more than the developers originally planned. Half-Life fans who don't like virtual reality are in for some rough news. Half-Life Alyx is VR exclusive and likely won't release in any other formats. Of course, there's always a chance a clever homebrew developer might try to create a non-VR version of the game, but officially, Half-Life Alyx will require a VR headset. Valve's Dario Casali explained the nuances of VR when necessary to give gamers a full experience with Half-Life Alyx.
They're all 3D space, all simultaneously tracking and moving. You just can't really get that with a mouse and keyboard.
Unfortunately, not just any VR setup can handle the game's smooth graphics and advanced engine. The Valve Index is an obvious choice, but the game will be playable via all PC-based VR headsets, so owners of the HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and Oculus Quest, if they have a PC link cable, are in luck. But what about console owners? At launch, Valve has decided to focus its efforts on the PC version of Half-Life Alyx before committing to porting the game to consoles. So where does that leave gamers who own a PlayStation VR system? Designer Greg Coomer told Push Square, "We believe Sony's VR platform has been a huge success for the medium, and we assume that lots of Sony customers would love to experience this new chapter of Half-Life." When pressed further about the possibility of a PSVR port, Coomer emphasized that Valve was very focused on the initial Steam VR release, but it's not ruled anything out. It's likely Valve is waiting to see how well Half-Life Alyx is received before bringing the game to a whole new platform. It wouldn't make financial sense to spend the extra time and money to port it to PSVR if it bombed. But given the thriving Half-Life fanbase, it seems unlikely that the game will end up a failure, so keep your fingers crossed for a PSVR port. According to Valve, you'll need to have a surprisingly high-end computer to handle the Half-Life Alyx experience. According to Steam, the minimum specs required for the game are a Windows 10 operating system with a Core i5-7500 or Ryzen 5 6000 processor, 12GB of RAM, and a GTX 1060 RX 580 graphics card with a 6GB of VRAM. And that's just to get the game up and running. For the optimal experience, Valve recommends a quad-core plus processor with an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 or better graphics card, and notes that an available USB 3.0 or higher port is required for a headset pass-through camera. Fans eager to get their hands on the game may want to consider upgrading their rig before the March 2020 release. The graphics are downright amazing, and the interactions are incredibly lifelike, so an older PC might huff and puff trying to keep up. If you already have a PC setup that can run the game and a VR headset, you can grab Half-Life Alyx for a reasonable $59.99 on the Steam store, and if you pre-order the game, you'll get a 10% discount. If you're still concerned about how much it's going to cost, here's a bonus. If you're already the proud owner of a Valve Index VR headset, the game will be completely free for you. Offered as an incentive to help with sales of the Valve Index, Valve may have underestimated just how much people were willing to spend to play the first Half-Life title in 12 years. The headsets completely sold out everywhere, and demand for them continues to soar as the release of Half-Life Alyx approaches. Though it's difficult to get your hands on a Valve Index right now, if you had the foresight or luck to get one before the incentive was announced, you can rest easy knowing you get a free copy of the new game. For those who don't have their Valve Index yet, there is a Notify Me button on the website to alert you when more stock is available. It seems the company is scrambling to make more units before the launch of Half-Life Alyx. It's unclear how long Valve will offer the game for free for owners of the Valve Index, but if it keeps the incentive going, you'll likely see those sold out notifications for weeks or months to come. Valve's Source engine was good enough for the beloved Half-Life 2 and Portal games, but with advances in technology come new expectations. In 2015, at the Game Developers Conference, Valve announced it was creating Source 2 as a new engine for its games. This would be used to streamline content creation, enabling the company to create more games faster. And wouldn't you know it, the development team is using the Source 2 engine to bring Half-Life Alyx to life. In an AMA on Reddit, the creators of the game confirmed they were using Source 2 to create the new game, giving fans hope that the gameplay will be even better than what they got from Valve's other beloved classics.
We're very excited about building more Half-Life.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Like, we have had an absolute blast building this game.
Gamers and Valve employees aren't the only ones who should be excited about Source 2 and its capabilities. Valve has stated it intends to make Source 2 free for any developers to use as long as the games they create are published on the Steam distribution platform. For those curious about what they can expect from Source 2, all you need to do is play Dota 2. Valve ported the entire game over to Source 2 back in 2015, titling it Dota 2 Reborn. Half-Life Alyx seems to be a pioneer in many ways. While VR versions of games sometimes accompany or come out well after AAA releases, far fewer companies have created full-length titles specifically for virtual reality. The team kept this challenge in mind while creating Half-Life Alyx. The developers needed to make sure gamers wouldn't burn out or grow uncomfortable from remaining in VR for long periods of time. Beyond the quality of the physical headset, gameplay remains one of the biggest determining factors of a player's comfort level. Many first-person shooter games you find in VR these days are considered rail shooters, meaning your character stays on a set path while enemies come to you. Rail shooters offer little in the way of exploration since you only have so much control over where your character can go. This design makes it easier for developers to create a fluid world where events trigger at the appropriate time. It does, however, take away some of the realism when you can't freely roam a map. Half-Life Alyx takes a different approach than your typical first-person shooter VR fare. In an AMA on Reddit, Valve explained to fans that it wanted to reward players for exploring the map, making the experience of Half-Life Alyx feel real on a large scale. Because of this, Half-Life Alyx will not be a rail shooter. Gamers will have control over where the character goes. One element has been removed from the Half-Life 2 moveset though. Valve has stated there won't be any jumping involved in this new title. Instead, you'll be able to teleport onto objects or vault onto them, depending on the situation. Half-Life fans are excited to see some familiar faces and locations in Half-Life Alyx. Based on where the game falls in the timeline and the player character, it's logical that you'd encounter characters from previous Half-Life installments. Who can you expect to run into? Alyx's father, Eli Vance, will feature in the game, though it's unclear in what capacity. Valve has also revealed that the G-Man and the Vortigaunts will make an appearance. There's one glaring omission to the roster though, Gordon Freeman. The silent protagonist you play out in the first and second Half-Life games may not have much to say, but he's become a fan favorite and the face of the Half-Life series. It's clear from the title of Half-Life Alyx that this game will center on a different character, but fans are still wondering if Gordon Freeman will be in the game at all. Given that Half-Life Alyx takes place between the first and second games, it's very likely Mr. Freeman will play a role. It's hard to determine if Valve has officially included him as a character since he has no voice actor to credit, but it makes sense that Freeman would at least make a cameo. Just don't count on him delivering a long monologue. Valve was marketing Half-Life Alyx as a first-person shooter, and for good reason. Large chunks of the game will focus on the player's abilities to take out enemies with an array of weaponry. If the new title is anything like the first two in the series, you can expect strategy and puzzle solving to come into play as well. You may be surprised to learn, however, that several sections of the game will draw on the horror genre. Horror games have found a perfect fit with virtual reality. The ability to immerse players in a tight, enclosed space and keep them on edge is the exact mechanic horror developers have been looking for. VR. There are plenty of terrifying creatures in the Half-Life titles, and more than enough tense situations. It sounds like putting all of these elements into VR and then amping up the creep factor is exactly what Valve intends to do. Valve's Tristan Rydford divulged his fears. "I admit I cannot deal with headcrabs in general, and definitely not in VR. If I'm testing the game and I'm in an area where I know one of those things is around, I'll remove the headset and hold it off my face as I attempt to navigate on the 2D monitor screen to lessen the impact of headcrab discovery." If you're concerned about the horror elements, Rydford assured the team was handling them with care. He explained, "Horror is part of the franchise, and through playtesting, we feel like we've gained some confidence about where to draw this line." Those thirsting for another entry in the Half-Life series don't have to wait for long. Half-Life Alyx arrives on March 23rd, 2020.
Here we go.
If you're new to this series or want to relive the good old days, you can play all the other Half-Life games for free on Steam from now until launch day. Upon announcing the promotion, Valve explained, "The Half-Life Alyx team believes that the best way to enjoy the new game is to play through the old ones, especially Half-Life 2 and the episodes, so we want to make that as easy as possible. So until Half-Life Alyx comes out, enjoy the gravity gun fun." Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more SVG videos about new games are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.